So myself and Rex Borgage and Harlan Williams, right, we were all sort of these misfits from society, right? We weren't going to cut out of university, right? So, everybody kind of, we kind of knew about this animation program, but it was very small at the time. Everything. There's some great graduates out there, right? Obviously, prior to us, but we got there because we didn't know we were going to be able to sort of go to university and follow the normal format. So here we were all these, from the island of misfit toys. That's really what we were. We were kind of just thrown together, right? And there was great instruction there, and you taught you the fundamentals of animation. And then, it really, put a hook in my mouth that said, this is what I want to do in animation. Because, all this got into it because we're cartoon buffs and everything like that. The computer graphics side, was something different. But Harlan and I and Reg, we all did together, right? And it was just mayhem, right? It was so much fun. And everyone I talked to was there for those years, right? We had a really good class. We had an engineering from Bob Walker, right? And Par and Reg, and many others, Howie Parkins, right? And so we all say, and Peggy QM, we all say the same thing. If we had to do it over again, we would. It was so much fun.
Now, I'd like... sorry, go on.
And then you get into reality of life. You're paying mortgages and divorces, okay? So when we're literally making cartoons and really being taught by some fantastic instructors there, there really were. And I'm sure there are still, right? And the work is still looking fantastic coming out there.
Now, I'd like... Oh, sorry. We've got to move on, Steve. One thing I'd like to ask you, Scott, Steve was telling us about the one-man operation in creating the movie. What was it like playing so many different hats and having to work on so many different areas of the production to make the film come to life?
Yeah, that was a double-edged sword. While I would be running the camera and the sound and conducting the interview all at the same time, I couldn't help but feel like at all times, one of those three things was going to suffer. And so, ideally, you want a camera person running the camera, a sound person handling sound, and then you, the filmmaker, actually conducting the interview. Now, the upside to doing it all yourself, I would say, for anybody thinking about doing it that way, is that the intimacy you get with the subject is off the charts in terms of it is really just you and another person sitting down and having a conversation. And so I do believe I got a lot more out of my subjects in terms of the interviews because of that. It didn't feel like a production. It didn't feel like a room full of people. And so we were able to go places in the conversation that I doubt would have happened in a normal situation. So it was, but in the end, there were takes that the camera was out of focus. There were takes where the sound was unusable. So believe me, when I got back to my desk and downloaded the footage and tried to work with it and saw that the focus was off, I would tear my hair out. The only thing I couldn't use a whole string of footage. So there's a double-edged sword to it, but I don't know if I would ever do it that way again. Maybe.
All right, I'd now like to take some time, and we're going to open this up to the floor to questions from our live audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything you would like to ask either Scott or Steve, just put up your hand, and we will call on you, and I'll repeat the question into the microphone just to make sure they can hear it. Yes, in the back. One audience member says, it was lovely to meet your daughter, Steve, and she's curious to know what she's doing now.
Oh, who's the audience member that met my daughter?
Sorry, meeting in the movie.
Oh.
We got a chance to meet her virtually.
Repeat the question again, sorry.
There's an audience member who enjoyed getting to know your daughter through the movie that we saw tonight, and she's curious to know what Hannah is doing today.
Oh, okay. So she went to she played a lot of softball. She went to North Carolina State on a softball scholarship, and so she's involved all girls softball right now back in Orange County still, right? So and she's Hannah's hilarious. She was just out here visiting, so. She's doing great. She's a solid character, right? She's happy with who he is, right? Which I think is a key thing in life. Which I couldn't be any prouder of the fact that she's happy with who she is. You know, I was very close to racing, right? Through everything, right? You know, ballet, you try that, you try the soccer, you can hold soft, and taekwondo, taekwondo and softball stuff. And I was there every other day for whatever it was, regardless of me splitting up with Adrian, you know, so. So she's turning left, and she's very happy, you know.
We have a positive thumbs up from the audience member. Grateful. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, hello. Do you have any advice for any young people working in special effects today?
Yes, work with your hands as well. Okay, balance the two of them. I blacksmith, well, you saw it in the doc, right? I've always built with my hands, and I don't think I would have got into animation or visual effects as intimately had I not worked with my hands, right? Even though I was very good, so I was good with my hands, so I could build in wood and metal and everything, right? So when I got onto data, I knew how to build in data. It was innate at that point, right? And I think that there's also watching some of the old classic films like Harold and Maude, right? Or bits from Legend or something, or Alien, you know, just looking at the lighting. You know, I think that those things they're falling by the wayside because, you know, the camera work that was done on those classic films, okay, has now been negated. I think Jurassic was really one of the last films where we really didn't do a lot of tricky stuff with the camera because everyone was learning, you know, at that time. But, you know, now we're at a point now with these franchises where you just don't believe what the camera's doing. And Spielberg had a very good comment. He goes, never put the camera where you wouldn't believe, right? Now that's been completely thrown out the window. And I think that story has suffered, you know, because of visual effects becoming the protagonist and not the antagonist. You know, I hope that answers it.
I would say too, it helped me when I started to think about my job as more of a detective than an artist. And what I mean by that is like constantly trying to figure out the mystery of why things look the way they do. Why does light wrap around things the way it does? Why do things move the way they do? So I would say that would be one piece of advice I would give. Try and think of yourself more as a detective, try to solve the mystery.
Try to solve the mysteries.
Because, you know, the human eye sees 10 million colors, right? So I always said that pixels free and have no conscience. So my attitude was that anything visual is going to be possible one day. Now, that was fought against, you know, and Denny knows this. You know, that was fought against kind of thing by the same people that ended up getting the awards for, you know, telling you not to do it. And that's just the tale as old as time. It's, you know, the VFX industry and animation industry are not. So I just had an attitude, right, that, you know, every pixel will be addressable, right? And, you know, when film was making its conversion from 35 into CMOS APS at that time, which everything shot in now, right? We had to come up with solutions to do composites to the film, right? And actually make it look like everything matched at that time, right? But I just said, because everyone's watching this on TV at home, I mean, we have addressable pixels, right? And every pixel is going to be addressable. Whether we like it or not, why, you know, I wrote a paper, you know, I wrote back in the early 80s on the resurrection of deceased actors, right? And everyone laughed at me, you know, right? Or what Unreal's doing now with facial, right? And I used to get in massive arguments about it. So I just said, I don't think it's right. I just said it's inevitable, right? That humans are completely driven by trying to recreate themselves synthetic, right? And CG, computer graphics, or animation, because you saw in the doc, it defies physics, right? You can actually bend the rules of physics, right? You're still using some of the components in order to ground the viewer, right? Anyways, sorry, I don't want to ramble on.
One question from us as a local audience. Steve, are you still a Toronto Maple Leafs fan?
What do you think? Of course. Yes, I suffered heart attacks every year since 1965. You know, so. Right. I mean, I had satellite dishes just to pick up CBC, and all the guys, all the Canadians that come over and watch Hockey Night in Canada at my place. Oh yeah.
One final question before we go this evening. Given your career and the numerous titles that you've worked on over the years, Steve, do you have a favorite movie as a film fan that you worked on, or looking back that you're most excited about?
Okay, film is one thing, character is another. So my favorite.
Well, can we do favorite film and favorite character? Can we do both?
There's certain. Well, T2 is still that's the premier piece. You know, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Jurassic, right? Because I found it a little commercial, and I kind of warned in the industry. I said, this is the beginning of the end of filmmaking because of the visual effects side. But T2 is the best balance of a film, I feel.
And then what's your favorite character?
Well, the pseudopod in the abyss, I think. But the first one I did, because it was so innocent. It was so innocent and under the radar and everything. And it needed to be coddled like a little child in order to make sure it worked. But I still love the Rex. I mean, I built the Rex, obviously, as you know, but that was a tenuous time. The Abyss was a very beautiful balance, right? I was creating in sort of silence. You know, I wasn't having the crap beat out of me every day, you know.
Well, I think I speak on behalf of our entire audience. Both Scott and Steve, we're so grateful both for your time tonight to do this very exclusive Q&A for us, but also to both of you for your vulnerability as a director and as a documentary subject, for showing us, like you said, Steve, showing under the hood of the mechanics and what it takes to make the movies happen. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for both of our guests tonight and their wonderful movie, Jurassic Punk.
Thank you.
Now, if you enjoyed Jurassic Punk, this movie is eligible for the People's Choice Award, which is our most important prize here at the Oakville Film Festival. You can either vote with your ticket, or you can vote online where you bought your ticket at OFFA.ca to choose this as your favorite movie of the festival. I didn't mention this before, but one person who votes across all the movies and all the screenings we're doing, we have a prize sponsored by Expedia Cruises Oakville, and somebody is winning trip for two on a cruise to Greece and the Mediterranean next summer. Huge, awesome prize. It's worth $10,000, and it could be you. So you should definitely vote for your favorite movie, no matter what it is. Last thing, we also need to thank the volunteers. There's so many staff, both here at the theater and in the lobby. Please give a round of applause for the volunteers and all the hard work they're doing to make the festival possible. With that concludes this evening's presentation of Jurassic Punk. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been given a special message from one of the organizers that we have got some other events happening tonight and tomorrow, but one event happening later this evening at 9:30, so in just under an hour, is Notre Dame de Moncton, which is going to have one of its premieres in the next theater. We are offering free tickets to everybody here. If you would like to stay and make it a double feature tonight, you can see us at the ticket table, and you are welcome to join us for another movie on us. With that, I think that's all the announcements, and thank you to everybody at home who's been watching our special Q&A live streams tonight. If this is the end of your OFFA journey, thanks so much for coming, and have a safe trip home.